What's up? What's up, everybody? Beautiful day out today. Fall is here. So today's video, a lot of things have been happening the last few days in the world, and these instances kind of it's an important time that I think we step back and we just think about. Number one, be grateful for all the blessings that we have in our lives, especially here in America. And but secondly, and this is kind of what today's video is kind of doing a self-assessment, right? And thinking about, all right, if the unthinkable happened here, what would I do? And am I prepared for that? And we talk about Bitcoin. I made a video last week about the basics, and I it just kind of like these type of instances kind of show you how Bitcoin could be a valuable tool for you in these times of uncertainty and upheaval. And just think about if everything that we know just kind of got tossed up in the air. I mean, just it's so that's kind of what we're here to talk about today, right? So, if you look at this, all right, so protecting your wealth in an unpredictable world, and how does Bitcoin fit into that? Okay. So, when you look at all right, so we're going to talk about a few things with that. All right, so when you look at kind of what the topic is, right? So war and upheaval. Okay, so wars, they can destabilize your currency, they can destabilize your financial systems. All right, things can shut down in an instant. What if you had to leave tomorrow? What would you take with you? You know, I mean, we need to have a balanced, investment portfolio, real estate, stocks, different things. You could have 10 investment properties, but if you got to leave tomorrow, are you going to take those properties with you? Like, what are you going to do? Right? What happens to your stocks when the banking system shuts down and you can't cash them out and get the money out and spend it? So we need something portable, right? We need something that is not affected by any individual government. And that's kind of where Bitcoin fits into this. And I think it's important, as you do your research and you study it, that you understand how powerful this tool can be in times of crisis to help you, among many other things that it has. So if we look at our American banking system, okay, so we take for granted, right? We have probably one of the best banking systems in the world. It's very rare that there's an issue. There was some issues earlier this year, right? So we all know about the FDIC. So I always say, if something's so good, why do we need this special insurance for it? But that's the trust factor. You trust in the banking system. But there are some inherent vulnerabilities in banking, right? So the FDIC, generally up to $250,000 of yours is insured in any financial institution. So if you have $500,000 in a bank and something goes wrong, half of it should be insured. But the fund only has about $116 billion in it. I checked their website today before I made this video. Only $116 billion for trillions of dollars in the banks. All right. So that's something that should give you a little bit of pause. And that was exposed earlier this year with Silicon Valley Bank and all when all those banks went under. Now, another thing about banks is fractional reserve banking. So how can a bank run happen? Shouldn't your money just be there, right? We're giving the bank the money, but with the banks loan money out. So if I put $10 in the bank, they're going to loan out 9. So I have my 10 on a ledger credited to me. They're going to loan out 9. That guy takes that 9, puts it in the bank because he doesn't need it just yet, but he needed the money. So now there's 19 when it was only 10. Then that 9 comes in, they loan out 8. Then now you have 27. So you can see, so if everybody showed up at once and wanted that, there was only $10. So how does that work, right? So this is where Bitcoin comes in. Now, there are some issues with Bitcoin, and so you have to be careful, right? So when you purchase Bitcoin, the average person, if you want to get started in Bitcoin and dabble a little bit, I recommend Cash App. Cash App's very easy, it's ubiquitous, it's a very simple system. The fees aren't super bad. Buy a little Bitcoin, test it out, you have it there, but you're trusting Cash App to hold that Bitcoin on your behalf. And when you need it, you're trusting them to have it for you. The guy on the screen is Sam Bankman-Fried, right? His exchange was FTX. Okay, and I'm sure you've seen them around. I'm sure you've heard of it. They were naming stadiums after FTX. Baseball umpires had the FTX logo, on their uniforms, which is crazy, right? They brought this kid in front of Congress. So we all thought that he was the real deal, when in reality, he stole like $8 to $14 billion. He's on trial right now. I mean, he just robbed everybody. So, you had your Bitcoin on the FTX exchange. You're thinking it's safe. You're trusting them to hold it for you. That's the risk. All of a sudden, you need that Bitcoin. It's gone. You can't get it. They've taken it. It's stolen. There is no FDIC for Bitcoin. So we have to be careful, right? This powerful tool does have a lot of pitfalls and dangers with it as well. So you have to be careful. But all right, so you get a little bit of Bitcoin, you put it on Cash App, you build up enough. I always tell people, keep as much on there as you can afford to lose. Okay, you can do it on Coinbase. I can do a whole video on Coinbase. They're not my favorite, but there are other options. PayPal. I think, what's the other one? Venmo, you can buy Bitcoin. So all these different apps, okay? So when you start to get a little more sophisticated and you want to have true self-sovereignty, that's what we call self-custody of Bitcoin, okay? That's when you take that Bitcoin off the exchange and you control it yourself. So you're not trusting another party like an exchange or some entity or some institution to hold your wealth for you. You're the master of your own wealth. And that's where the power of Bitcoin becomes evident. And that's what kind of ties back to this whole thing. So let me show you a couple of things. So there's a couple of things you got to be concerned with. All right. So there are many different types of Bitcoin wallets, and I bought a bunch here today. So this is a Trezor. This is a Ledger, right? Different ones. So you have to remember, right? Your trust, by being your own bank, you're responsible for your own security. Okay. If you had a stack of cash, would you leave it on the seat of your car with the doors unlocked, in the worst neighborhood in Fall River? No. You probably wouldn't even leave it in the car, right? You'd put it in the house, you put it in a safe, you'd hide it under your mattress, you put it in the can in the freezer. That's how you have to think. This is like cash that you're holding. The Bitcoin's not on these things. The Bitcoin is on the blockchain. These simply hold the key to spend it. So if you can access the keys that are on here, you can spend it. If you lose this, no big deal. There's a password to recover your keys, and you can just restore it to another device. But for the purposes of what we're talking about here, very simple, okay? So all of these different Bitcoin wallets that I have here with me, these are all, hardware wallets, okay? So you're trusting the hardware, and it's very important. So within each of these wallets, there's software that runs them, all right? Some software is open source, some software is closed source. That's very important. So when you're researching a Bitcoin wallet, you want hardware that is open source. You want the software that is open source. You want the code to be available for people to review who know a lot more about this than I do. I'm not a code writer, but can review it and look for vulnerabilities. If I'm going to trust you that you have a good device, then I need to know that you didn't build in any backdoors. So we're talking about Ledger. I would not recommend Ledger. Their software is closed source, and they did some really shady stuff. So I was using them. I like them. I don't use them anymore. Okay. Trezor, another device. It's open source software. It's well regarded, kind of limited, but it's good. But it has some stuff that I do and don't like, right? And as I grow and I learn more, I try to get a little more sophisticated. This one right now is one of my favorite ones. This is a Keystone. What I like about Keystone, right, is look at that. It runs on AAA batteries. So there's no battery charger to hack. There's no Wi-Fi in this thing. There's no Bluetooth in this thing. There's nothing. It's air gapped. It never connects to the internet. It works off QR codes. So you have an app on your phone. You want to make a transaction. You have to scan a QR code. Makes it very sophisticated. All right. And finally, the last one. This is an old iPhone 7. It's I bought it new. So I've had this phone, I don't know, 7-8 years. So the provenance of the phone, I know that the phone hasn't been tampered with, because that's the key, right? If you buy these devices from a shady source, you could get a tampered chip and someone could steal your money, right? The stakes are high. So when you're your own bank, you have to think about that stuff. So this is a phone that I've owned since the beginning when it came out. The odds of someone on the Apple supply line tampering with it and putting in a chip that would steal my money are very low. It was 8 years ago. All right. This phone, I've disabled all forms of connection, and I made it into a QR code wallet. So, that to me is very secure, but at the end of the day, I really like this Keystone one. And again, if you want to go down this rabbit hole with me, I can go down with you. But the supply chain concerns, because remember, you're trusting these devices with your family's wealth. Okay. This is your lifeline for your money. You're your own bank. So, you're not going to leave your money, like I said, on the front seat of your car with your windows down in the worst neighborhood of Fall River and expect it to not get stolen. And that's what these things are, the digital equivalent of that. All right. So guys, So that's that, and I think it's very important. The world's very unpredictable. A lot of things are happening fast, and it really just, take these moments to really sit there and assess your situation and how prepared are you and what's going to happen to you if the unthinkable happens. Are you prepared? Are you ready? How are you going to protect your family? All these things, and really, we just, it's just a lot of crazy stuff happening right now. We just really hope that, everybody's okay, and we're praying for everyone, and, hopefully things just work out, But all right, guys, so that's that, so that's the power of Bitcoin. That's one of the things you can do to protect you, and, you can take it with you. So that's that. All right. If you have any questions about how to buy Bitcoin, how to store Bitcoin, if you got a tip for me, something I'm not thinking of, just let me know. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.